you may die.
Sacrifice.
I'm prepared to make.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like that period was probably they're probably pretty willing to take a few gambles on things. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, that were sort of his conditions. Khazal's warned you that these Efreeti are pretty nasty people. He's just a bit bigoted though.
Against.
Incense. He hates incense.
He doesn't like smells.
Is Khazal still hanging with us, or is he gone off?
He's in his little genie bottle.
No, it's Khazal, sorry.
Oh, Khazal. Oh yeah. He's
Khazal's in his little genie bottle as well.
He's like a Pokemon. In addition, you finally found the scale, which allowed Bahamut to essentially convey a message sort of directly. It wasn't so much a conversation. I'm imagining that this would have been quite like a... to get sort of a direct line of communication from a god would probably be quite like a overwhelming experience, so just keep that in mind as you're, role-playing in general. But he essentially told you that as far as he knows from the time of sending the message, that the cult of Croconis do not have the Eye of Tiamat. And in fact, if you guys need to find it and put it into a magical dagger, which can be used to completely destroy the soul of Krodratek. Because if you kill him another way, he'll disappear, but in 1,000 years or so he might just come back. So you don't, depending on where your headspace is as an individual. Yeah, exactly. You could just not do this. Keep in mind, 1,000 years for you ain't shit. But
different realm, mate.
Yeah.
It is for me.
And also, when you get to a higher level, you also become immortal too. So
Yeah, I saw
you
that.
might want to.
I age really slowly.
Your last character was that. Remember? The character before that.
It's just somehow immortal. That's ironic.
During blood. Yes, he said that he thinks he knows where the Eye of Tiamat is, but he doesn't want to tell you through the scale because it's a bit sketch, basically, in case the cult somehow managed to get the message from it. So he's basically invited you to Celestia, which is where he lives in one of the outer planes, because there he'll be able to give you this magical dagger and also tell you more about the Eye of Tiamat. To do this, he says that you have to the sort of only contact he has that could get you there is somebody called Gidello Mumblemeyer, who is currently living in Squall's End. The last time that I haven't heard anything from him. So you guys have got to go to Squall's End, track down Gidello Mumblemeyer, have him take you to Mount Celestia, so that you can acquire these goodies and hopefully kill the baddies.
Have you already had a conversation about what we're doing first?
I don't think we did.
Right.
No. So yeah, you're basically, these are your options.
We've left the cave now and we flew off on Khazal.
Yeah, I mean,
Because we got my Holden back.
yeah, true. So you wanted to get away from the Dreamwalker.
Is it? I'm sorry, Mount Celestial.
There was
Celestia.
What is the
There was
sorry,
stone
Mount Celestial? Where is
giant
that?
in the
Oh,
cave.
and
It's
he
one of
was
the
a
outer
Dreamwalker.
planes.
Yeah, he was
for
the
home.
Dreamwalker.
Yes.
Right.
Oh
And then
right,
stopped.
yes.
Pretty loads happened in this session.
Yeah, we got one out there.
And hang on, the dagger.
Yes.
Do we know anything about the dagger, or is it just that we have also defined a dagger at some point?
Oh, and Bahamut says he's got it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No.
That's easy.
Yeah. Oh, is it? No. You can have it, but you must answer my riddles 3.
What is your favourite colour?
Remember, I can see each other's old. Okay, yes. So, you guys, to sort of kick off the session, you've left the cave. You've all been sort of taking the time to process this information while also kind of feeling invigorated and more powerful after having getting a boon of justice from Bahamut himself. And you're now travelling probably on the back of Khazal at the moment. We can say that maybe you've landed somewhere for the night, as the sun sets slowly kind of fading away, you're sat around the campfire, and it's time for you guys to essentially make a decision about what your next move is. So as you're kind of sat there, Dorwin continues to scribble away in his book, and people are kind of keeping half an eye on him because last time he was stuck in a tree.
How long have I been gone?
We also have a statue of us in the Drovnar Peaks.
There was a huge party and you missed it.
It was what?
We all went naked hot tubbing.
And by
Was
we
I
all,
there?
he means Enoch and Gary.
No, I mean Dorwin was obviously leading it.
Ingorgious.
Remind us what information did Iskandar barter with?
The location of Neahar in Avernus, which is where this ritual will be taking place, where Krototech will be summoned.
But we don't want to go there unless we have this dagger, do
We certainly don't want to take the dagger there. That's delivering it straight to where they need it.
Well, it's only the eye, not the dagger.
We need to use the dagger to destroy the eye.
But the dagger needs to be powered up with the eye.
Oh,
Right, but then it can be.
the eye and the dagger to kill.
They're not one thing.
Yeah.
Well,
So we could use the
dagger. Yeah, what do you mean? Well, so basically
I'm
you've got a
confused
dagger
about-
which has like a socket in it, which you need to put the eye
So to
in.
get the dagger to work,
Yes.
we do need both of them
Yes, yeah.
to get.
Have you
at
seen
the
the
same
video of like this and the rectangle goes in the rectangle?
Yeah.
The semicircle
Goes in the
rectangle. The cylinder goes in the rectangle.
No. No.
Remind me the name of the location where they are.
Near Har in Avernus.
Would Bahamut know that as well?
No, what? Sorry.
Where near Har and
Do you think we could just not help this genie?
It sounds like we're probably gonna get fucked up when we go there, because he's said as well that in his absence somebody's probably taken over his thing. So we're probably gonna turn up and there's gonna be loads of enemies and they're gonna
Can
want
the
to kill us.
genie get out of the thingy?
No, he's
Without
not.
us?
Not
Kind
unless
of.
summoned.
So he can force his way out, but he can't leave
He
too
has to be
far from
within.
the
So
bottle.
we could just leave the bottle.
Yeah.
You can just chug it in the sea.
Hey, Dorwin, what happens if we just break the bottle?
I guess he's released.
Is he die or is he released?
You have to find out.
Well, I don't know. Would Dorwin know?
Probably.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
rolled a
But
20. He rolled a nat 20. I think,
He's
on his
released.
check.
Yeah,
Why does he
will.
need our help then?
Because
I
he's-
don't really know.
Basically,
Because
when
we
he
have
doesn't
to take
free
the
will-
bottle to.
If he's
So
finished
like
on
he-
display, he can't get home.
Yeah.
So basically,
He can't touch the
he
bottle,
doesn't
can't
have
leave
free
the bottle,
will.
so he can't get home without someone moving the
Moving the
bottle.
bottle to his home.
Right.
But
At which
it's not.
point
It's
he will
not
be
even
able
that. He just needs somebody to ask him to go. Like he can't do anything without being told to.
Well, why can't we tell him to?
Because he's a beta cock.
He's a genie. He's trapped in a bottle. He's not meant to be in a bottle.
Yeah, but
But
why
we
can't we
have-
tell him to go home?
Because we will
Yeah.
have to go with him for him to tell us then where it is.
Could you?
He
you'll have
has
to go
information.
there.
I
You'll have
reckon
to
it-
go
I
there
reckon
with
it
No,
him.
I know,
wants
I know,
us
I know.
to
If we
fight
find
off
out
some army
other
to try and
way,
make him
then
Prince
why
of
are we
Spice again.
No, if we can find another way.
But we don't know
Yeah,
if we're
okay,
going to be able
great.
to find
Yeah,
another
yeah,
way. Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Beat
So
'em up might
maybe
not know.
we do the Bahamut thing first.
Yes. Yes. Although that does seem like the much longer quest, and if we leave him in the bottle, he might not help us. So we might.
He's waited this long. He can wait a bit longer, surely.
It's up to him.
Well, he's gonna have to.
I vote that we return to Squall's End and we meet Bahamut's agent.
Yeah. Do we?
But then
know-
that will take us then to Celestia. This is going to take a long time, basically. If we fuck this guy over.
It's the Afriti that knows the location of. Only the
Celestia is where we're going to meet Bahamut.
And sensing Gesh is allied with Enoch in this, Enoch will say, "Aye, Gesh, that's a fantastic idea. I think the genie can wait. On to Squall's End."
What say you? Why not Squall's End?
Because we are currently at the whim of this Afriti. If we leave them in the bottle for a long time, they could decide to, make machinations that when we get there, they're just going to screw us over.
And then,
whereas if we go immediately,
well,
they
can
might
we
be
just
more inclined.
can
to
we
help
just
us.
tell the Afridi to tell us where Neahar and Avernus is before we get him out of the bottle?
He's obviously not going to do that. That's the whole point of the.
Well, we can get close to it,
Do we?
and when we're almost there, we can give him an ultimatum. Either we turn round.
No, because he's going to take us to his place. At which point he will tell us where it is.
And when does he get out the bottle?
At his place.
So he's going to tell us how to get to the
Neahar and
Avernus.
incense factory.
We
No. So he's going to transport us to his area, his realm. At which point the incense factory. At which point he then tells us where Neahar and Avernus is.
Well, yeah.
Right,
So
but that
you
doesn't
have to
sound
take him there and then help reinstate him as High
Oh
General.
god, so that's a whole.
It's a quest, basically.
It's
I'm
a
giving you
whole
a quest.
lot.
I did the whole thing.
You keep getting us to go do loads of shit. Like, why don't we just chill?
I love the idea of like you nip to the realm of fire. He's like, alright, cheers guys, see ya.
Valid point.
Well, the way I see it, we can rely, whether it is now or after our visit to Squall's End to see Bahamut, we can rely on the fact that this Afriti wishes to be in power once more. And whether we go now or in time, he still needs us.
Yes, but he would be more likely to double cross us after we've reinstated him and just not give us the information, because we are then in his realm of fire where he is a lord, and he is, then more inclined to just be like, no, fuck off, and not
Could he
hold
not-
his
It
Could
kind of
he not
sounds
just
like
do
he might
that
do
anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's more likely to help us, isn't he?
Bahamut might have some information about Neahar and Avernus that might aid us in our quest.
But we don't know. He lives on a different plane. He can't even send information to us, without worrying about it being like he doesn't really have that much control over this world. He doesn't necessarily know where things are.
Also, the cult are actively searching for the eye, right? I guess we don't want to give them extra time to find it before we do, compared to.
And the eye is in Celestia.
Well,
Dagger.
Bahamut
We don't know where the eye
knows
is yet, do we?
where it is, but he doesn't want to tell you where it is.
Right, I
So
see.
you don't know where
I
it
see.
is.
Okay, so they could still. Okay, go on. That is also true.
I guess then we need to do both of these things. Sorry, I don't know how to accent that. So, which one do we want to do more?
That's what we're trying to
No,
work
well,
out.
like, we're just doing more fun for the next time. Like, we're gonna do them both, right?
Right, that's the last time I write you a quest.
That one's
Which one's going to
sad.
be less of a drag?
Well, one of them sounds fiery and scary, and one of them sounds like going to heaven. So
I guess as well.
That's
there's-
very wise.
There's more chance of stumbling across the location of Neaharan on the way to find the eye than there is finding the eye on the way to Neaharan. You know what I mean?
I completely agree, Dorwin. Sounds like we're in agreement.
For me, also, Polana, I will say that a invitation from the god of justice far outweighs that of an angry genie.
I don't want to
But-
say anything, guys, but fuck this guy. I didn't agree to any. No, they're free.
Yeah.
Oh, they're free.
Yeah.
Bahamut.
They're free.
Just strikes him
I've
down.
been very
with his staff.
consistent.
I love that as
I didn't want to say anything.
But
Dying.
fuck this guy. Yeah.
Fuck this guy. I didn't sign any pact to help any Efreet.
Because you were off in the fucking hot tubs. What
Yeah,
was
for
your
good reason.
Guys, do you think, right, why don't we go to Squall's End, meet this person we're supposed to meet, and then they are probably going to give us some other thing to do in order to... I'm sorry, I'm not being sassy now, I'm genuinely saying...
One thing after another.
We'll get the information we need.
And in the quest.
Really lazy
Oh my
druid.
god. Yeah.
And then
You just want to
when,
know what's going to happen at the end. So
Yes.
that's it. It's really
when,
Can we skip this chapter?
when we're
Sorry,
at
go on.
school's end, then we'll have the information to go to both places we need to go, and then we can decide. At the moment, we don't know how to get beyond Squirrel's End.
Just feels like if we do it that way, we're gonna go to Celestia.
Yeah, which is what we will love to
The
do.
paladin is not that keen about going to the home of the paladin.
Celestia, Schmolestia.
I want some incense.
I want to go to hell!
You guys fucking stink. I need some incense.
Polana's really keen to pursue Oathbreaker.
No, and I feel better if I go there.
I will also suggest, Polana, and I don't mean this as an insult, but maybe we should even go as far as leaving the Afriti bottle with Khazal when we go and meet the agent, because we know that Iskandar is scheming and conniverous and listens into our every conversation, and I do not want to take him with us to meet Bahamut.
So wait, he
I
knows
pick
what's
So,
going on with us.
so what you missed as well is basically when we summoned him from the bottle, he knew a lot of information about all of us because being on my person the whole
He can-
time,
I
he
assumed
can
he'd be like-
hear conversations
No,
we've been
no.
having.
So
So
he can
all
hear
of this
this
he can hear.
conversation.
Yeah.
He learned the location of Neohara and Inverness from.
Inverness.
Go back to
Is that where we got the bottle?
Yeah, it was in
Yeah,
this thing.
Ancestral
down,
Strategic.
something we
Yeah.
skewed.
That was a cool dungeon, actually. I like that one.
Is that the
Sick.
one where we fought?
Polana had some
The
good
five
relationships with
trials,
you.
remember?
Oh, that one.
Back
Ah,
to
yes.
Rubik's Cube.
That was
And fucking 200 damage.
Well, it looks like I'm the only one that wants to do the Afriti, so fine. Let's go and do the Squall's End.
I didn't know he could hear us.
It's a bit like
I mean, oh man, wish we could have gone to.
I think we should help this guy. Oh, no.
Hey, like, you put the bottle like it's like 20 meters away, it's just like really muffled. He's like with a fucking glass up against it.
Can I shake the bottle?
Yeah. You have to roll to not pop the lid off.
Okay.
Take off Gish.
Okay, so I mean an additional thing. Gesh made a good point. Do you want to leave it with Khazal?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Does Khazal have pockets?
I guess not. Don't take a shit for months.
So
See, we're gonna be gone for months.
Well, I mean, you've got to go to Squall's End. It's quite far away.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we
But then we
can
have to
port
go
to
to the-
we can port to the
But
Spice
you
Lands
can just
whenever we
teleport
want,
us
though.
We're gonna be in.
Pilana,
you
we
make a good
can
point.
we can teleport to the Spice Lands whenever we want. If we start making our way to Squall's End and you manage to convince us, then so be it.
Well, then we need to take. the-
I do.
But also remember that.
Well, I assume we're
so-
going to be travelling to Squall's End on the back of Khazal at least some way. It is a long old way.
Oh, I'm a bit tired. But the thing is
Well, that's not really an
I
option,
would
bud.
say that, well, like one of the points you made earlier, which is relatively significant, is that of course the cult are all
Fuck
after
this
the
guy.
eye.
Yeah.
So, although the fighting might be pretty quick, it's also like a bit sketch. You
I
don't,
do-
you don't know if they're like they're about to pick it up or whether it's going to stay there forever or what.
I do understand Polana's worry, however,
But
because
we don't know where
Iskandar
we're
is
going.
going to be far more likely to help us
Then
if
take
we
it.
respond to him now rather than if we make him wait for, as
Months.
we say, potentially months.
I don't see it like that. I think that we don't have to be at this Ifrit's beck and call. We're our own masters. We can do what I want. If
We can do what I want.
yeah, that's Enoch.
My third option is the Afriti humanoid.
Yeah.
I do have a way to force him to give us the location.
Great.
Oscar's like, what?
But it would require killing him.
Great.
Might be hard. We don't really know. I guess.
Probably going to be quite hard.
Is this reanimate?
No, this is a new spell I've got.
Oh.
Soul Cage.
Oh, interesting.
Soul Cage. That sounds very oath.
I guess if we can't kill him, then we really aren't going to be able to get him to
He
tell us.
doesn't have an oath,
Or,
right?
or
No, I know, but it sounds like something
Or if
Oathbreaker
we don't
Palana
want
would want
to, if
to
we don't
do.
want to risk it, that can be our backup in case he does try and double cross him. Then we kill him and force
Dorwin.
the answer out.
Alright, that's a
We
good
are here with Khazal. I say
Good to know. We've always got beating him up as an option.
I say a compromise to get this information as we deal with this Iskandar immediately.
I also feel a bit bad
Wait,
killing
you're
a
on my side
completely innocent.
Well, with
Efreet.
this spell,
Oh, with this?
Yeah.
Got you.
I also feel a bit bad killing a completely innocent Efreet.
Bottle wobbles. I would say just one thing to keep in mind as well is that you would have had to get your hands on a tiny silver cage worth 100 gold.
Sure, okay.
Squall's
Squall's
End.
Yeah.
True.
What is this called?
Why?
Well, we've got to.
I just want to know that, like.
No,
Can
no,
I
describe
maybe
it
say-
when you describe it in his first.
I
I know, but is it like
part of
how it works?
When they die, I can capture their soul, and part of it is I can ask them a question. A few questions.
Could
You
could
and they
I
have to respond to it. Okay, got it.
can I maybe suggest that with Dorwin being a clever cookie, prior to confessing this information, we may very well have just put the Afriti bottle 20 feet away.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where
also-
are we, sorry?
Oh, so at the moment you're not too far from Drognard Peaks.
North.
A little bit north, yeah.
Whereabouts is that on the OS map?
Should we go back to the
Oh,
so we're in the
Drognard Peaks?
scales.
Should we go back to the Drognard Peaks to get a silver cage?
By the way, just one thing as well, is it doesn't say which spell consumes, so once you've got it for good.
Cool.
But you do need it to cast a spell.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about that as a compromise, Palana? We get to Squall's End, we get a silver cage, and we deal with this beast.
I thought we were looking at that as the backup.
But we'd need to have it in order for it to
Yeah.
be a backup.
So I,
Yeah.
Schools
So
End.
we need to go to
I
school.
say,
I feel-
I say,
I
no
feel-
backup.
just talking
I
about
feel like.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
I feel like this
With
Efreet,
Khazal.
even
That's
if
probably a close place to go.
even if we take this Efreet to his spice land, there's no guarantee he won't do exactly what Polana's worried about now. I think it's essential to have this silver cage that Dorwin needs to ensure we have a backup plan in case he double crosses us.
Absolutely get the cage,
Yeah.
but it's
Would-
whether or not we try his.
Well, then at Schools End we can decide whether we want to do the
Isn't
quest
school then
or
like
not.
super north?
No, south.
South,
Ah.
southeast.
It's in the like
Oh,
balance.
so we're not that far away.
We're fair away.
Fair
okay.
away.
So we're here, Squall's
Yeah.
End's down here.
Yeah, you're about 2,000 miles away.
Khazal,
Yeah. How far can we? Or can we get the Afriti to? Is he Efreet or Afriti?
Either's fine.
Okay.
Or get him to get us a cage.
No, get him to teleport us there to School's End.
Can you do that?
Yeah, how do
We just ask him to do it, right? No.
No, so he can take you to his home plane.
Right.
I mean, you know, one of the things about this particular Efreet is that normally within a Efreet, when you crack them open, there's a small chance, well, there's a large chance that they'll be aggressive and try and fight you, but there's a small chance you might be granted some wishes.
And
He
we
made
were.
a specific deal with Corvexus that basically Corvexus forsook his wishes for servitude from the Efreet, which the Efreet, well, you don't know why the Efreet did it, basically.
And that's why he can't help us help him.
It's basically why at the moment he can't help you with like any old wish, but he can do things that are within his power, but like his more normal powers. The
Yeah.
wishes are sort of like a separate ability.
Right.
But that doesn't mean he'll do what you say, because he had this deal with Corvexus, but he's still had the wish element of him essentially stripped.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, so Dorwin, you say that you don't want to simply kill an innocent genie, but the way I see it, Iskandar has been in the service of the cult of Krakonis. He is not innocent. I think on our quest for for good, ridding this world of him would not be a bad thing.
However, we don't know why he agreed to servitude to anyone, or even if he knew Corvexus had malintent.
Would Dorwin know, like, if they are inherently evil fire genies or not? Would
Well,
you
we've
know?
already got the warning from Bahamut saying
And
these guys
Khazal.
and Khazal, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty solid understanding.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
So
to be
there is
trusted.
something to say for getting him out of Corvexus's grips as soon as possible, same as with Khazal. If
'Cause-
he's going to be working against us anyway, because he kind of has to.
On the other hand of him double-crossing us, he might be so grateful that we reinstated him that he gives us more than we asked for.
Yeah.
Khazal
He's
did warn us
trustworthy.
of him being scheming, though.
Is there anywhere closer than Skull's End we could get some?
I just don't see what this Ifrit that's been trapped inside a bottle for hundreds of years will care about waiting another 3 months.
Well, that's his whole thing, isn't it? He's been trapped for ages and he wants nothing but out. So that's all he wants.
It's just about if you stop and down tools for some random bloke.
Do we?
It's not to find out where the fucking fight. It's not just the random side quests. It's inherently tied in with it.
This is the last time I give you 2 questions.
Yeah, you're right. We should just pick one. Do we know anything about the fire plane? Any of us?
No, I like the discussion by the way. It's easy.
Oscar told us some stuff last time.
Oh right, but none of us
So none of us know.
Yeah. So we didn't take any notes.
I mean, I can
just
tell
like,
you some stuff about
if we
it
were
as
to
well.
go there right now, would we be fucked or?
So
It's
basically,
like Zelda when you have to get all that stuff together to go into a hot place.
yeah. So in the elemental plane of fire, basically nothing can really exist in it, just in general, because it's very hot. But there is a place called the City of Brass,
Oh,
which
right.
is.
That's like a trading place to say.
I mean, it's like one of the biggest cities in the multiverse, sort of thing. It's like a huge cultural hub. It's got the largest military force of like anything in the inner planes.
Biggest incense export as well.
And it's essentially run by a Ifrit, and there's like heaps of wacky fiery creatures that live there. But the City of Brass is one place where basically anyone can go and not have to worry about burning to a crisp.
Okay, so we'll be fine.
We'll be
on our
fine if we
arrival.
go there,
Well, that actually sounds quite cool. Mine can't do that.
yeah. Sounds pretty good.
And the teleportation between planes thing.
He can just take us there.
You
Right?
can just take us there, but do we have any idea how we'd get back if this guy fucks us over?
That's a good question.
Yes, Dorwin, I know you. I admire that you like to see the good in people, but we have been warned by Khazal and Bahamut of trusting an Ifrit. I suggest we, well, you know how I feel.
Yeah, well, I've said my bit.
Well, I am now in 2 minds.
Well, as a backup, we need a silver cage anyway, so we should make haste to certainly acquire this material.
We can get that from basically any reasonably large town, right? Anywhere with a blacksmith.
I mean, a silver cage is like a bit weird.
We have tons of silver.
Do you?
Yeah, we've got silver coins. We've all got hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, true.
We could easily make a little furniture and take it on.
And we're all pretty loaded as well, so I'm pretty sure we could barter our way through something too.
Why don't we head south until we see a settlement, a large settlement, drop down peaks. Get past the drop down peaks, see a settlement, and then work on the silver cage, and then.
Dropping our peach, you probably get a silver cage, to be fair.
Return to the
It
job.
looks like all roads lead to the job now peaks, I'm afraid. That's
Yeah,
good.
fair enough. Alright, you go there.
Plus they
do
can,
that.
So we've got silver cage.
Yeah, I mean, we can literally just, like,
go back.
skip through it, and, like, go there and get it, and that would, I mean, you travel for like a couple of days to get to where you are, so there's no reason why you can just nip back and grab it. Nice.
Okay, great.
Alright, should we do that? That's the one thing we can all agree be honest.
Yeah.
And also, you weren't
I pick
necessarily
up
planning
some
on
poisons,
leaving the Drovnar Peaks like for good when like you probably didn't stock up on. Oh no, you did stock up on supplies, didn't you? Yeah, a couple of
Yeah.
days. Stocking up.
Whilst we're there.
No.
I didn't stock up on any supplies.
We communally there are supplies. I can't with loads of track food and stuff because otherwise you'll die.
No crystal weapon.
I don't think it's something that would happen quickly. You know? Which might be a good reason to go to Squall's End, to be fair. And I'm not pushing. I'm just thinking about it. It's like you probably could go there and leave it with someone and then do some shit if it's.
Could do the same at the drop.
Cool. Do you know?
Oh yeah.
Do you know about
revisit
Squall's End?
it at a later
Yeah,
date? Oh yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
Drop it in the most isolated place in the world.
It's more central than Squall's End.
Do you know much about Squall's End?
It's full of cunts.
It really is. Enoch's like a good one.
Oh, I'm definitely not. Let's go to the eternal fire. Whether or not we're in the city of brass, I don't care. It's better.
My vote is to go to Squall's End, get the cage there, do a crystal sword there, maybe talk to this guy there, and then make a plan about the
I'm
fruit.
making a crystal sword. Why? Because I need a new weapon and crystals are cool.
Okay. Seems like it would shatter, but okay.
No, we've gone through all
Okay,
this.
fine. Yeah. Either way, we're going to need to be in Squall's End at some point, and then we can transport to the Eternal Plane from there to there.
Alright.
Also, if the Colour Cryoconus are looking for this for this artifact, then it makes sense that we go do the more pressing need.
Also, if this gimbal fella knows where it is, that's surely a in for the cult, so maybe worth securing him first.
That's true.
Indeed, I hadn't thought of that. Protecting him.
Does he know where it is? He doesn't know where it is. He knows how to get to
He knows how to
Celestia.
get to Bahamut.
But they're not going to go to that home, are they? Like the cult just get fucking wiped
They get
out.
wiped, mate.
They don't
I
have,
don't know, Cronus went.
but they don't have their leader in
Go to
there.
Celestia.
Yeah.
He went to a dragon plane and survived.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, he went to the abyss.
I thought it was where the chromatic dragons live.
Yeah. Well, he went to where Tiamat lives.
And is that not some equivalent to Celestia?
Yeah, but the opposite.
Yeah, but like, it's a place where dragons live.
But that's when he was at full power, which he's not currently.
Yeah.
We don't, even, we don't even know if he's like material. You know, we don't know if he can do shit.
It's like Voldemort.
To Squall's End.
Can we ask Khazal, how far would you be willing to take us south of this place?
I am one of you, Bakayaks.
Oh, how uncomfortable.
I will take us as far as we need to go for the good of annihilating Proconus.
So nice, you'll definitely be on the next statue.
I didn't want to say anything.
That really hurt my feelings.
I didn't even know I had them.
You made me realise I've got feelings. It's sadness.
I will never forgive you for that.
Right, Papa.
Excellent. All right.
I will never do
Shut the fuck up!
Just pulls out a spray bottle.
He's like,
It's just like napalm. Alright, let's do that. Let's at least go somewhere.
we've just been bickering in this field for like half an hour.
And the Jew's just been listening.
Okay, so we're heading to Squall's End, are we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Did you manage to fuck around with the bow?
No, not yet.
Oh, fine.
I was near the I got distracted by
Cool.
conversation.
Okay. So, the journey to Squall's End. Let's see if it's probably about. how far can a dragon go in a day? Maybe like
2.5
meters.
2,500
Meters.
2.5k.
He's fucked. He's absolutely dead.
Do half. I was going to say you could do half a park run before he's fucked.
I must rest here.
every 4 minutes.
My bones tire me so.
Okay. A normal dragon pace.
I love that you typed in what's a normal dragon's pace.
How far can a dragon fly a day? Yeah, I was thinking that anyway. To be honest, let's go with 100 miles.
Really? Is that all? I would have thought you'd like.
In a day?
What's the cruising speed of a dragon? Like 30 miles? And that means the cruising speed of a dragon is like 10 miles an hour.
That is mental.
Well,
That's
its
like
flying
double
speed
walking
is,
speed.
Surely you can go like 60 miles an
well,
hour.
its flying speed
In which case,
is
that's an hour and a
80
half.
feet, and a person's walking speed is 30 feet, and a person can go 25 miles in a day. So,
30 to 25. So times 0.8 or something.
2.6 times 30. Oh wait, no, sorry, 25.
What about if you?
It's a dragon. Though.
Looked
It's
at
not
it-
a human.
Looked at it
It's
like
not scaled
say
up
a dragon
human.
could fly 50 miles an hour, right? I think that's quite tidy. Yeah. Or 40,
60.
45 if you want to.
66.6 miles according to the maths.
If you did 45 miles an hour and you travelled for 8 hours, say,
Yeah, we could do 50.
that's like 425 miles. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense, really,
Or
doesn't it?
50.
I guess also dragons do need to eat an awful lot to keep going, so you'd have to hunt and stuff. So it would
Yeah,
be
so we wouldn't be able to do it
efficiently,
the whole time. We would need to.
Maybe like 200 miles. Maybe like 10 days.
Yeah, that sounds cool. 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. Because dragons are
Sick.
in my mind fast as fuck, you know. Yeah, all right.
If he's flying for 6 hours in a day and we go 200 miles, that's 33 miles an hour average.
Yeah.
That means that he has an
That's
80%
slow.
chance
Let's
of not killing a kid if he hits it.
let's say
Oh, sorry. Oh no, you're alive.
What's a kid doing?
Playing with a ball in the strap.
Steps off a cloud.
Chasing with a ball.
You're landing.
It's the highway of dragons. Yeah, let's do that. I like the idea of dragons being able to get places quickly. Now something
Could have done with it at the drop now.
Let's say that he potentially could go quicker, but maybe he does like approximately 30, so you guys aren't just fucked up for 6 hours a day. Like
Also for like a longer journey, he's gonna pace himself.
He's gonna
as
take it
opposed to,
steady,
like,
yeah.
fucking going for it.
Yeah.
So he's like cruising.
Yeah.
So what? 30 miles an hour, 8 hours a day. It's 200.
Maybe you could say that we like. Are there any like little towns along the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you could say we like stopped off at some little towns and like.
So you're not
Maybe
going to
like-
the tavern.
Yeah, spread the word of the kayaks and stuff a little bit, you know, just
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, you'd hit a. I mean, I can tell you a little bit about some of the places that you'd potentially stop off.
I don't know, just for a little bit of like, you know,
Little bit of
like-
flame.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I was planning on telling you about the journey in general. Once I remember what that place is.
Would there be anywhere en route that might have a artificer smith type of guy?
Well, we can say you've left it at the Dropnar Peaks to do something with if you want.
Okay.
Do you want to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Cool.
how long would it take roughly? Would they say?
Months.
4 weeks.
Okay. Okay. Gives me time to think of what I want.
There is an item called Crystal Sword if you want to have a look at that. See what
Yeah,
it
I'm
does.
not sure if I want to.
Oh. Well, I mean, it could be that, but a different weapon if you want. Yes.
Would the Drovnar Peaks have any? No thieves would be in the Drovnar Peaks, would they? Or you reckon
Oh,
the
in
thieves
the
go-
Jovnar Peaks?
Yeah, with the thieves go with permit.
Oh,
you
nah,
don't-
no.
No one steals everything. Everything's free.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering, like, you know.
There'd be no purpose for them there, would there? Because you can take whatever.
Well, like you could leave Jovnar Peaks with stuff.
Oh right. Well, yeah. I thought that was the whole thing. We could have.
Oh yeah, I know. I as in just, but like, I don't know. Just if you're a thief, you might not even ask.
What, like Enoch?
No, you not might. Can he not buy? In that case, can he not buy a poison, please?
A poison?
Yeah.
Probably not making heaps of poisons. But
Okay.
they've probably got some poisons for like interest and stuff.
Guess you'll brew your poison
What
if
would
you
you
want.
want a poison?
Oh yes, please. Go on then.
Sold it.
Can I have a cool poison, please?
I don't have.
I have got. You gave me one elemental water, by the way, which you can have, and you gave me Lord Astrodon's ash.
That was quite impressive, mate.
Probably a bit smelly, sorry everyone.
Gesh.
Toy.
If you can,
Enoch.
I've got some of this Lord Astrodon's Lord Astrodon's horn that I crushed up for boner pills, and I got this bottle of fancy water. It's got a mighty fine shine to it. Fancy knocking this up a potion.
I've got a cool idea. Right.
Yeah.
Could we, not knowing what the ingredient is of Lord Astonon's ash, could we try and brew a potion and see what happens?
Be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, go on. Maybe we could roleplay it that like you're initially hesitant, but Enoch manages to talk you round, being like, "Come on, Gish, you'll be fine. You know what you're doing. I've seen you. Head in the books always. You've got your head screwed on."
The only way that I will go ahead and brew a mysterious potion where I don't know what its effects may be is with the magical aid of Dorwin. He must oversee and protect us while we pursue this high risk but high reward endeavour.
I've also got some ice devil blood, which has a highly magical effect, which you can have.
Yeah? I mean, okay.
I don't know if that
Fine.
works in a potion.
Cool, take it out of your inventory, I'll put it in
Yeah.
mine. Have you given me Lord Astonon's ash as well?
Yeah, I had 2 of them as well.
Do you want to hang on to one? You hang on to
Nah,
one.
nah, you
I've got
can-
some as well. So
You can, yeah, no, you can.
Alright.
Because we said I was gonna just like let you do the potion thing because it's like your thing,
Cool,
and
okay.
I'll have my psychic abilities.
Question
Yes.
about the crusher feat. Sorry, this is slightly off topic.
Okay.
Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals bludgeoning damage, you can move it 5 feet to an unoccupied space, provided the target is no more than one size larger than you.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning I can leave somebody's opportunity attack radius without disengaging.
Yes.
I'm going to make a warhammer with my
Okay, nice. Yeah,
and
sure.
I'm going to be a crusher.
Crusher. I want some crusher.
What?
Tough enough to make milkshake.
What say you, Enoch? Would you be willing to protect us while we take this chance with this alchemy?
Sure thing, Gesh, I'll protect you.
You did say Enoch.
Oh, sorry. I meant to say Dorwin.
Oh.
Sorry. Did you? I said. What say you, Dorwin? Would you be willing to try and protect Enoch and I while we brew this mystery potion?
Yeah, I trust your skills. I'll help however I can.
And like, how would we sort of implement a
With some
protection from
checks.
Dorwin?
With some checks.
Okay, cool.
It's going to cost you.
Okay, so you do your alchemy rolls.
I'm gonna say because I don't know what it is. I'm going to just increase the difficulty modifier by like 2.
Can I?
Okay.
It's already pretty hard.
Okay.
But I'm gonna do it with advantage because we're in
No way, man. You're using an ingredient. You have no idea what it does.
But the
How do
brewing
you possibly
process.
know what to?
As
brew?
in,
Can I help in a very specific way? Because I'm not very good at potions, but I'm very, very dexterous, so I can add like minuscule amounts of the ingredient.
How
and
we-
like have like
Okay.
you could say like I want you to add like the tiniest dash of this, and I'm able to
this
just
moment,
like
like,
flick
cool.
it,
At a very
and I
specific
flick
moment.
it in.
Yeah.
So maybe
Okay.
you could get advantage from that.
Okay, yeah. So you do sleight of hand, you do Arcana, and you do your checks.
Okay. Alright.
Maybe just do like a hard difficulty. Don't worry about changing the modifier, but don't do advantage on it necessarily.
Okay, fine.
29.
Okay.
25.
18, and I needed a 16.
Okay. So you kind of go through this pretty sketchy process that probably takes a little while. You've kind of got you're prepping. You initially prep some ingredients.
Sorry, did you give me the elemental water as well? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You prep some ingredients. Meanwhile, you get Enoch to prep like some of the thinnest slices of things possible that you sometimes don't find as easy. And so while he's sort of doing that, and if you sometimes you see him doing something slightly off, you say, "Oh, just do it slightly thinner, Enoch or something." Meanwhile, you see Dorwin is kind of the different ingredients that are being processed. He's like kind of carefully sniffing them, and you're reminding him not to touch them so as to potentially infuse any oils or any an essence of gnomish magic into any of the ingredients. And he occasionally will point out that potentially more of that ingredient could cause X effect, and some of that could cause so and so.
I just thought of something cool as well. That maybe like through this process of me now crafting potions, it's almost like as I'm crafting them, I have this sort of like almost like an ethereal sheen of like magical gloves now that from exposure to all these magical ingredients that I sort of manifest as I'm brewing potions to help protect my skin. So they also protect the ingredients, but then stop me from being imbued in any way by.
I like that.
You know, just very you can very like Dorwin could probably see it very clearly. Enoch maybe not so much, but then it's there. you know.
And perhaps like through it as well, when you touch a given ingredient, it's almost like you get almost like a slight bit of almost like sensory input. So you almost tasted it or smelt it or something through these ethereal.
I've got my gemstone eye gives me detect magic. So I can see it as well.
You're locked in too.
Yeah, I'm locked in.
This is something that you won't have noticed in Gesh before, and it kind of lines up with the bow a little bit. as well.
For sure. And after a while, you're able to brew this potion, and you're not quite sure what it does, but inside it looks like just like scalding hot, bubbling like lava and magma is just kind of popping and bubbling, kind of solidifying into rock before it like melts back into the lava and stuff like that.
Cool.
Sort of all in the bottle. It's very warm to the touch.
Cool. I can imagine like as it all settles, all three of us are just sort of there, like in awe, like looking around this tiny little vial, like seeing the outcome, and I just sort of very carefully just pop it off the set, and then I say, Enoch here, be careful, it's hot, and I pass it to him.
Okay. I've got my little fingerless gloves on. I'm holding it in the palm of it, just juggling it round.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you've got a this warm potion.
Warm and mysterious potion. We don't know what it does,
Yeah,
but we've managed to successfully craft it.
you might be able to find out with some research, or you can just send it. It's up to you.
You have your wish, Enoch. Do with it as you please.
Yeah, nice. Okay, and with that, what is it that you're doing? I say that being in Drovnar Peaks, you will have been able to acquire a silver cage.
Is it a potion or a poison, or do I not know?
At the moment, you don't know.
Mysterious
Potion or poison?
I mean, I feel like poison is under the umbrella term of potion, potentially.
Sure. Okay.
So I missed. Is this made out of something specific we got from a battle?
Yeah, it's
Lord
made of-
Astron's
Ash.
or ash from his horn.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Cool.
Its name is Lord Astron's boner pills.
Boner
I hope it
tincture.
literally just does that.
one
Sorry, what?
7d6 force damage
Sorry,
through a
no.
permanent direction.
Devil Big Tincture.
Yeah.
Put it in your diffuser.
Pass me Ali's laptop, 26.
Yeah.
I want it.
I'm getting one.
So we got a cage anyway.
Yes.
No.
We're flying on.
Is that the plan?
Yeah, I'll go School End.
Okay. So yeah, approximately 10 days of travel pass. You guys, by the time you reach School's End, have made your way through a fair. Well, I'll tell you about the journey, I suppose, actually, because you will have come across some cool things. Khazal basically lets you know that he's. That's your water flask that you have with you. There's one area that this is like a main area that I have the lawful, so we'll just say that the route didn't take you past it in this instance. But you basically, he takes you on a journey heading southeast. And you kind of find that as you're flying over these lands, you see that there's huge swathes of kind of old dead forests and lands shrouded in mist. There are points when you're sometimes closer to the ground and you can see sort of strange figures and shadows that move through the lands here. He tells you that you should spend as little time as possible kind of on the ground in a lot of these places. One of the areas that you stop by, which is sort of a little bit less sketchy than the others, is one of the isles off of Deepmire. And as you sort of pass over the sort of treacherous sea on your journey towards Deepmire, you stop by on one of these small islands, which is relatively uninhabited. It's here that you would have met a sort of collection of like reptilian and amphibian humanoids. Okay.
Have I been there?
You've been to Deepmire.
Yeah.
On one of these smaller islands that you would have stopped off on, you would have met some sort of real locals that wouldn't speak a lick of common. You would have had to sort of, while stopping there, you would have needed Khazal's just sheer sort of size and intimidation factor to prevent particularly the lizard folk here from giving you any grief. There's a good chance that a few of you could well have encountered lizard folk in the past, and they're sort of well known for they kind of lack the ability to feel any sort of empathy. They're sort of hardcore cannibals typically.
Can I ask a quick question? How would I have got from School's End to Cooling Crest and everything?
You would have headed with that gang. Yeah, sure. So with that gang, you would have headed up through the woods and travelled along the outskirts of the Bannisker Mountains, mountain range, before eventually heading across this plain here, which is kind of a no man's land territory, which is dominated by centaurs.
Okay.
Which is
the one you had last week.
They're a little bit, not always, but they're pretty kill on sighty.
Okay.
So it would have been a matter of navigating your way through here quite slowly. Before crossing through a portion of the scales, which would have been probably one of the slowest parts of your journey, before making it into the fields of Nundek, which would have been relatively chill.
And we're like here, aren't we?
No, you guys are like down here.
We're down here.
Deep
yeah. Okay.
So he's kind of gone down across here.
Flown across the sea.
Yeah, a portion of the sea.
Was that purposely because it's sort of more safe passage in a way?
Yeah, sort of. It's just like a relatively direct route. But yeah, kind of.
Could I say that Gesh might have implied that he wanted to take a wide berth of the Bannisker Mountains?
Sure. I mean, there's potentially a place you might want to visit in the south, right?
Yes.
Do you want to do that?
Near Iredale. Not pressingly, no. But,
Okay.
But yeah, if it
Maybe
happens,
on the way back,
if it happens, that'd be cool. But
well, I mean, it would be a matter of Gesh saying, "Hey, let's do this," because
it'd be cool when we're here.
well, as in it's what Gesh would like, would Gesh want to do that, or do you just want to get?
Yeah,
you
he
know,
would.
I mean, you're having to stop placing. Okay, sure.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
All right, we'll do a little bit of that. On these islands as well, you also meet these strange creatures called bullywugs, which are essentially these kind of small frog-like humanoids, which are almost kind of Ewok-y in nature. While you have been able to go in and potentially, you know, I'd probably put this on Rudy, to be honest, being like as a druid and these guys being a bit more bestial and stuff, you're kind of able to get on their level a bit more, and sort of trade some of your own goods for some mysterious meats and strange fruits and things like that. The Isles of Deepmire itself and the Isles are kind of like they're kind of like almost like Florida Everglades, kind of Louisiana bogs, you know. These little islands are obviously more sandy and kind of veering slightly more tropical themselves than Deepmire itself. But nonetheless, you spend a night here, which is a little bit tense, but not too bad. On the journey as well, Khazal would have explicitly stated that he wanted to make it to the islands in a day's travel because he didn't want to have to stop anywhere near Lichfield. Lichfield is a city that is essentially entirely run by a sort of like a hive mind of undead that kind of undertake all their functions there.
Let's go there.
The city itself is like relatively normal in terms of like how it functions and stuff like that, but the inhabitants are pretty opposed to fleshy folk, you know. It's also run by
flesh havers.
brain
havers.
Their ruler is also very much an incredibly powerful lich, but he spends most of his time sort of not particularly active, like semi-dormant. Khazal explains to you that when I mean, this is something that Dawn would know, and some of you might know about this as well, but a lich is essentially a person who, normally an incredibly powerful wizard who, on the pursuit of immortality, finds this incredibly dark way of doing it. And this particular lich decided to set up a city fortress, basically, as his sort of ultimate defense. Now, heading up from some of those northernmost islands, just off the coast of Deepmire, you begin to enter the territory of the Banaskir Mountains. And Gesh, why don't you tell us a little bit about sort of what the way you would be conducting yourself and things like that? Anything you might say? Sort of.
Okay, so yeah, we're sort of coming. If I don't know if everybody's got reference to the map, but basically are we sort of coming in sort of slightly to the west of Iredale at the moment?
Yeah, Iredale. So
yeah.
Iredale is what I mean. You know, I'll touch on it. You can still say what you want about it, but it's essentially like it's almost like an area completely run by ranger folk, kind of, you know.
They're
like,
world renowned, aren't they?
Yeah, you know what they call we're like Aragorn's ranger guys.
Ranger of the North.
Yeah,
Dunedain.
The Dunedain. That's it. Yeah. It's sort of like a civilization of Dunedain.
Yes. When exiled by my kin, I was raised here by a very, very wise and knowing Aarakocra. He made me the ranger that well, maybe not the ranger that I am today, but the ranger that I was when I met you all in the Nundeck Fields. Well, when I met you in the Nundeck Fields. Like looking around the group and realising there's only Dorwyn that knows from the Nundeck Fields. While it's not something that presses us, I would appreciate it greatly to just drop by and see an old friend.
That works for me, Gesh.
Yes,
Always time in life to make room for friends.
We need to stop for the evening soon anyway, so that works for us.
Yes, he may be somewhat alarmed to see a large dragon, but seeing me, I'm sure I could explain all.
And I could always use a soft bed.
Well, I'll leave that to you to bargain with him. He only has one cot. He never let me sleep in it.
The night is young, Gesh, and I have got plenty of my finest sacra. I clink my hip flask.
Okay, so as you begin sort of heading into that area of the Bansko Mountains, even from above, this is familiar territory. In fact, kind of looking down from above is almost like a, for you, the sort of memories of walking along the mountain paths, being put through trial after trial and securing what you now remember as being sort of intentionally pitiful rewards that, what can you remind me of his name?
Oof-esque.
Let's go with Oof, shall we?
Oof. No, go with esque.
Esque, okay. Which looking back and remembering was very much just Esque's way of teaching you sort of humility and forcing you into these tasks which at the time you felt just to be so mundane or unnecessarily treacherous, sort of one or the other. And yes, you spent a lot of time here, and so as all these memories kind of come rushing back, you inevitably sort of spot the mountain on which he lies, which is always kind of stuck out a little more than the rest. And you kind of guide Khazal down, and on your way down, you suddenly find you see in the distance, you can see the small figure of the Aarakocra kind of launches up into the air and takes flight, and initially kind of flies away a little bit, and you recognise this as him attempting to scout before making any hasty moves, and before long you suspect that he may have spotted people on the back of Khazal.
Yeah, I'd say spotting him and knowing these tactics that he deploys when potentially facing danger, I'll jump off off Khazal onto Dragos and then fly towards him and maybe gesture for everybody else to just stay with me but separate themselves by 20-30 feet or so.
Okay, so as you begin to approach, can you describe to everyone what Esque looks like?
Very typically like a American golden eagle in a way. He's got really bright yellow eyes and a very aggressive.
A bald eagle or a golden eagle?
Golden
eagles are like the brown ones that we have, and
sorry,
bald eagles the white.
The typical like American eagle. Then the bald eagle. White crest, big, huge beak, yellow eyes, and but like very, I would say, very majestic and elegant in his presence and the way he flies. I don't know if there's anything else necessarily you want to add to that. That was kind of the picture that I painted, and his home is that's almost of like a nest at the top of a tree. That's what it looks like to the eye, but then actually as you approach, you see that the home is actually underneath the nest, and it's sort of just sort of
like into the mountainside.
Yeah.
Or?
Well, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Nice. And how does he sort of what was at first glance what his sort of characteristics? How does he behave?
He's very dry in his humour, very matter of fact, can sometimes be misunderstood and seem rather insulting, but it's just from a result of being in solitude for so long. But has a very good heart.
Okay, yeah, very nice. Okay, so you approach on Dragos, and you see that as Dragos begins flying over to Esque, he kind of adjusts trajectory and begins flying straight over. And as he kind of approaches you, he kind of flies up, and both of you just kind of stop. Dragos and himself just sort of flapping their wings to hover in the air.
I'd say that Dragos squawks like a joyous like attempt at a draconic roar. But because when Dragos and Ersk last saw each other, Dragos couldn't fly. Dragos was but a pup. And so seeing this with Gesh sort of mounted on his back, sort of forgets that Gesh is on his back and sort of lurches forward to go and greet his friend, you know.
You find that as he lurches forward towards Esk, you just see he goes, ah! Like that, and just stops him in his tracks. And he says, Gesh, you damn near scared the life out of me bringing that dragon here. Explain yourself.
My apologies, old friend. Myself and Dragos have acquired quite the party over these past years since I've seen you.
He says, it is good to see you.
Likewise, old friend.
And with this, he kind of comes forward and offers out his hand to you. Presumably he takes his hand. And as you feel his like sort of strangely strong embrace from his drawing hand, he also kind of gives Dragos a little scratch under the chin.
I'll say, I must ask of you. We require safe haven for the night. We have been travelling far. Our destination is Squall's End. We have pressing matters, but we needed somewhere safe to lay our heads this evening.
Of course. It's a foul pit you're heading to. You'll need your rest. Tell your party it's safe to descend. Meet me in the nest.
I must warn you, a few of my party, one in particular has rather a sharp tongue, but he means well.
He says, I know the sort.
Indeed.
And with that, he kind of turns and dives down, and you return to the others to
I would say that something that everybody would observe as we usher back to the nest, Khazal sort of comes in and lands, and Ersk effortlessly, but without showing off. It's because he's just
second nature.
He's second nature, and he's just such an excellent flyer and also like warrior. He lands and he's what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that basically, as he lands in such a way that it's like sort of awe-striking that in his descent and his maneuverability.
Yeah, maybe he sort of goes down and just doing slow movements is actually dodging among loads of different trees and stuff, even though he's barely moving. He just makes the movements he has to, sort of thing, to get to where he needs to go. So he kind of dives down. What do you say to the rest?
I say, we have safe haven for the evening. This here is my mentor, and he has taught me much, and he protected me when I was at my most vulnerable.
I walk up to him, take off my hand.
Hang on, you're not down there. Should we go tell you sort of? Khazal probably flies down in pursuit and kind of sets up on the mountainside nearby. You guys dismount, and Gesh, you kind of lead everyone over to the nest. This route just almost incomprehensibly nostalgic, and it's like the equivalent of a witcher returning to Kaer Morhen or something.
And I'd turn to him and I say, Ersk, this is my party, and I go through an introduction. I say Polana, Dorwin, Ruddy, and Enoch.
He says, I've never had such a large party stay with me before, but I'm sure there'll be room. It is a pleasure to meet all of you, companions of Gesh.
And Khazal. We just keep forgetting Khazal.
Oh yeah.
I assume Khazal would.
I definitely would have introduced Khazal, considering how much I'm bumming him now. I completely forgot to do this.
Charge Dragonminers. Don't worry about it.
He's not part of the statue.
He just kind of came with us.
He's just not right.
And I say, between us, we are the kayaks, the Orenthor.
He kind of he does this sort of familiar face that you can never quite tell is approval or disapproval, and he just sort of does a little sort of quiet. With this, Khazal steps forward and he says, what's his full name again?
Oof-esque.
He says, Oof-esque. I must say, you have trained Gesh to the utmost ability. From what I've seen of him on the battlefield and elsewhere, his wisdom, it must stem from you. For that, I am grateful. Esk says, that is kind of you, Khazal. I must say, how is it that you came to, he sort of addresses the rest of you, how is it that you came upon such an interesting dragon? To be chromatic and not to be sizzling me alive.
I say, well, he didn't used to be all like that.
He says,
I love that there's Enoch's first words.
He says, I see, long story I suppose. Well, perhaps you can tell me over a glass of mead. And with that he kind of takes you in. What does the room look like?
You describe it, mate. I'm happy
Okay.
for you to roll with it.
Sure, yeah. So outside of the
So it's very humble. Really,
yeah. Outside of the nest, you see there's kind of the view in this area is kind of like no other. In the foothills of the Banaskia Mountains, you can kind of see along down across the southern plains, and you can kind of see there's just a huge expanse of this very, very thick kind of coniferous woodland just dominates the landscape.
Could we say that, like, on a good day, you might be able to make out some of the more prominent structures of Squall's End, or not? Because Squall's End's sunken, isn't it?
No, yeah, Squall's End. I mean, the only thing that you could maybe not from this range, is still like a couple hundred miles away.
Fine, okay.
But if you were closer, the only thing you can maybe make out is just like plumes of smoke, basically. Just smog.
Pollution.
This area is quite idyllic, but it also kind of different to the mountains of the Scales. Is these mountains are sort of much more vegetated. There's a lot more life in the area. Potentially some things that Gesh would have told you about is that because they're a slightly more modest mountain range that are less high compared to the Scales, there's just a lot more room for creatures to actually exist here without getting completely annihilated in the winter and that sort of thing. So it's closer to, like European mountains as opposed to American or South American mountains, it's much less barren. The hovel itself is this, as you kind of step down, you're kind of met with this relatively warm glow. You can see that this place is very much just set up for necessity and practicality. He's got his bed, he's got a fire with a cooking pot that hangs over it in one side of the room. Kind of gentle wisps of smoke float out the top of the nest itself. The walls are kind of, half of them are stony, which are kind of embedded into the mountainside, and then the other half are this kind of tangle of sticks, which are sort of topped with mud and mosses to protect from the weather and leaves that get replaced in the summer and that sort of thing. Within here as well, Gesh, your eyes are kind of drawn to a relatively well-stocked alchemy set, which you've kind of remembered was always one of the less enjoyable parts of your training. I mean, none of it was particularly enjoyable, but it didn't really draw you in. But now you're kind of looking at it with renewed eyes, and you're identifying remembering being forced to identify all these parts, but you're now kind of running through the little inventory lists that you were forced to remember. You see they all have just come straight back to you, and you're kind of running through them, but it's a little bit more joyous now rather than arduous. With that, we can say that the evening kind of passes on, you guys telling the story of Khazal.
I would say one other thing as well that I'd just like to add for flavour as well, is against one of the walls, is that he wouldn't have like an extensive collection of weapons, but he's got a few very, very refined and well crafted. He's got a few short swords and then a bow that you can clearly see that he has mounted and is sort of on a mantelpiece as such, that is clearly his pride and joy.
Yeah, in fact, I would probably say that a couple of other things. Maybe you would have walked path on like a gentle path down from where Khazal landed to the actual nest itself. You probably would have walked past a relatively rudimentary but highly functional forging area, in addition to a spot where he'd use to chop wood and do. But it's just sort of like wood chips kind of scattered around from where he's been crafting arrowheads, or crafting arrows rather. One other thing that catches your eye in here, Gesh, as well, is just this like gnarled old staff, which he would always take walking and always informed you to never travel without a staff, which you always thought was funny because as a young dragonborn you never felt like you needed. And as well, I'd probably say that, well, I know you said cot earlier, but I think it would probably be more fitting for him to have sort of like a mat almost that he would use to, that he would use to both sleep on and sort of meditate on as well.
Yeah, cool.
And in here, you spend the night kind of discussing some elements of your quest and kind of catching up. You find, as Gesh described, he's relatively dry, but will occasionally make a small comment that does bring out a few chuckles in people. So he's not, while he's relatively abrasive, he's not necessarily unfriendly. Although you can tell that he doesn't really know how to host in terms of, you know, he doesn't really offer much in the way of amenities. And he, at one point, you see that his...
What does he think of my sacra?
Oh, your... What is it? Is it wine or is it...
Yeah,
is it
like sweet,
he would,
sweet wine.
He would probably find it a little bit much because he's used to having relatively bland food combinations, and he would have a very sensitive palate because it needs to identify poisons and things like that. So he'd probably find it a bit intense, but he doesn't seem to. But he seems to enjoy it at the same time.
Cool.
But for him, it's a little bit of a shock.
Okay.
He would also say at one point, Gesh, please show me your bow.
Okay. And yeah, with that, I'll present my bow to him, and maybe he won't fully understand it because obviously since the Drobnar Peaks, Elven Absolution has started to undergo a bit of a change.
This would be during the time at Drobnar Peaks as well.
But very, very steadily, and instead of it being the sort of typical shape where it's got the rounded limbs, now it's starting to bulge slightly, and the texture is changing from, it was like wrought elven wood, and now it's starting to take on the shape of draconic scales, right? Going from a pale and elegant green and starting to imbue like a deeper golden colour. And I present it to him and say, this is something that has now become part of me, as your bow to you. I have slain many foes with this here piece of equipment, and I am now lost without it.
You see that he holds it incredibly tenderly, and he says, did you craft this?
Originally, it was boon from ridding an entrapped soul back in the scales, but you could say that I have now crafted it to be mine. I have imbued it with my magics unwillingly, unknowingly. I have manifested them in it, and it has now become mine.
You see that he kind of inspects it for a little bit longer, and he kind of looks up at you, and you see that he's just kind of staring into your face, and just for maybe a few seconds, but you feel this this sense of very much somebody who's proud of what he's seeing, and he says, "I can see that remnants of its elven craft still lay behind. I was wondering if you had another master."
Just Khazal and his influence. The dragon that brought us here has had quite an impact on us and on our party. I've come quite the way from that dragonborn that you tracked as an infant back in the mountains.
He says, "Yes, I can see that, and Dragos too, nonetheless. His power is clearly beginning to flourish." And he says, "It does not surprise me that Khazal has had such an impact. The dragons are inherently potent magical creatures. I don't doubt that your bloodline at some point would have crossed with his." And he sort of continues to look at it and hands it you back.
Can I just say on him commenting on Dragos, I present him with the Serenity Stone that I was given by the by the Dragonborn of the Jobnar Peaks, and I say, this here magical item has helped to ease Dragos's pain. The quest we went on to cross to the White Wilds, it proved useful, but the recent Dragonborn that we saved they have helped much with soothing Dragos's soul.
Yes, I can see. I was most concerned when you left for the White Wilds, Gesh. I'm glad to see that you made it through and grew because of it. He kind of holds the stone and he says, "I remember when I first met Dragos. He was an unruly little bugger."
He still is.
He says, "Hopefully this will ease some of his behaviours." And he puts it down relatively matter of fact.
It will not.
And sort of with that, you guys continue to spend the evening. He tells you a few tales of when Gesh was young, and he kind of laughs about having sent him on these menial tasks and that sort of thing. You see that as well. Gesh is, while he is talking to him as more of an equal, you can also kind of see Gesh in a way that you've not really seen him before, as somebody who's a little bit more reserved, I would say.
Just humble.
Yeah, just humbled in this guy's presence. But yes, so with that stop off, he offers you a few.
Thanks for that, mate.
Yeah, no worries.
Check your laptop, buddy.
With that, he offers you a few sort of rations, which is sort of unlike any you've seen before. Clearly gathered from the wilds of this area. Rudy, you would just through smelling them, you'd pick up these like slightly unusual ingredients that you wouldn't have thought to necessarily put together, but now that you're thinking about it, actually make a lot of sense in terms of preserving.
Yeah, Rudy quite likes it here. She can really.
It's
appreciate
really
his way of
isolated.
living.
Yeah. It's really, really isolated at the top of the mountains.
Perhaps at some point. I would say as well, just in the morning as well, you would have woken up and as you kind of roused, you would have noticed that Esk isn't in there, and between you kind of ask Gesh and he informs you that he will be on the top of the mountain currently, either training or meditating, and after a little while he would have come back down and discuss this stuff. Perhaps you'd have been a little eagle and gone and watched him for a bit or something like that.
Can I just say as well, before we would have left, Gesh would have relished the moment to be able to spend some time with Esk, using the alchemy set and teaching him a few things after having started to hone his craft, and instead of just brewing the most sort of necessary potions to stay alive, now showing off some of his magics.
Yeah,
he's
because
able to imbue in his potions that he makes.
Yeah, because he would have taught you how to like truly be a wild man, but you're sort of learning to be like a warrior and somebody who's like has to be powerful in battle.
And maybe I might like show off the potions that have not been used by Palana.
Yeah,
and
she just
say,
like
I don't have any potions.
you would have seen as well.
maybe
perhaps
showing
you would
off the
have seen
paralysis poison and the potion of heroism and stuff like that to it.
Yeah, you see that he kind of asks you about the ingredients, and you see that in his slightly reserved way, he's kind of impressed, but also a bit like almost slightly freaked out by them, and he's certainly not very pleased about this magma potion as well. For him, that's like dangerously extravagant.
Oh no, I think what
I've asked him. That's what I think. Would he know like what it did?
I would have suggested to Enoch to not mention it. However, you do as you will.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, if you suggested not to mention it, then I would
Yeah,
have mentioned
because
it.
he would have absolutely advised against behaviour like that.
Yeah, sure, reckless behaviour. Okay.
Would you have thought to have told me?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like someone go around your friend's house and you've got some drugs and they're like,
Yeah.
fucking show me.
Don't talk about drugs with my parents.
And you, when you leave as well, he says, it was pleasant seeing you all. I'm glad Gesh has found his way. I'll bid you farewell. I hope what I've left you with will aid you on your journey. And he turns to Gesh and he just says, try not to let it be so long before I see you again next time.
Well, old friend, I can't promise that. We do not know what destiny holds for us. It's a quest that we must pursue.
He just sort of slowly nods and says, I understand, but you know you'll always have a home here. And he just places his hand on your shoulder. And with that,
I would say, just as thematically for everybody as well, he's like 7 foot tall. Like he's much bigger than me. Because even when I was young, I've always been the height that I am because I grew to my full size at a very, very young age. But he's always had a bigger presence
yeah.
than me. So
Yeah, and even just like the size of his wings, even like furled in, just still kind of give him like a very broad silhouette. And with that, you have enough supplies to sort of pass over Iridale, who probably, well, I actually imagine Khazal will probably skirt around Iridale for fear of them just nailing him. Yeah. So he kind of heads further south and around, and you head over these plateaus and sort of marshy areas that you can now see sort of feed into deep mire, which becomes these very lichen heavy, misty, foggy, grimy swamps. And you continue heading towards Squall's End, where the trees become to get more normal. You maybe stop off a couple more times on little outskirt villages and stuff, which are always around here filled with, you're sort of imagining like weird, like sort of outback, local yokel kind of redneck territory. But it's like for those of you who have spent any time in deep mire, in the swamps in the north.
what have you done, mate?
There's swamps in the north anyway outside Eastbourne, and you find that it's kind of similar to that, but those people, like you would have encountered them for sure, and probably not Dorwin or Gesh or Enoch actually, probably just you. They're like very much like your relatively warm, inviting, like Louisiana American type folk, but down here it's a little bit more like. And so it's never that comfortable, and Khazal often has to land far out of sight, and you have to trudge through swampland to get to civilization. Now, you finally begin to make your way sort of close to Squall's End, and what you can see from high up in the skies is this kind of relatively brown and desolate landscape, and you can see sort of moving along these kind of great ploughed fields are these like enormous sort of machinations that seem to be hodgepodges of scrap and materials that are just sort of moving along, kind of churning out plumes of giant big load of smoke. As well, you can see that dotted around in between the farms, any kind of different shaped landscape is almost entirely manufactured, kind of heavily dug out quarries. industry in the surrounding area is just dominating.
Really is fuming. Stop talking to you.
Squall's End itself is just an absolute bustling sort of metropolis of like just shanty-like buildings. There's certain areas that are more built up. There's some stone structures around. It's just a huge hodgepodge of various bits and bobs. And sort of passing around overhead, you sort of do a little bit of a flyby out of sight before Khazal kind of heads back and would land far, far away and sort of send you on your way here. But by passing over, you would see just in the centre of Squall's End is this enormous pit which just seems to extend into complete darkness. And the pit itself is just littered with all these different walkways and structures that are all hanging and swinging and dotted around. And all the walls of the pit are just lined with these sort of shanty buildings that just are sort of draped over every single bit of conceivable land. And there's a couple of things that once you sort of get up, I mean, probably would have spoken to you about this beforehand, but a couple of bits of info that you would want to know, Enoch, and potentially pass on, is that, oh, actually, you wouldn't know about this thing just yet, actually, because that's more new. But I'll give you guys like a brief rundown of some of the things that Enoch would have told you about.
Sure.
Let me just get. Oh shit, I'm in the wrong tab. So, Enoch would let you know that this is a city of sort of pure anarchy, basically. It's sort of managed and run by 7 main families or gangs, many of which splinter off into much smaller organisations that are sort of scattered around the place vying for power. He tells you that on the surface there's an organisation called the Crimson Company, which are essentially the people who they kind of single-handedly have created the industrial infrastructure around the area. They're kind of the only actually sort of authoritarian, cohesive group of people that have elements of order, and this is largely because all of their highest members are various hobgoblins, which are typically very sort of lawful individuals, but are also kind of messed up people. He says that they pretty much just stick to the surface and live a relatively comfortable life if you're wealthy there. He tells you about there's one sort of rogue faction which are sort of separate from the whole city, and he explains that he doesn't have a clue why they're there, but they've always seemed to have been there, and they're called Les Roses. They're basically a community of these sort of elegant, very matriarchal group of elves and humans who are, while being based in Squall's End, they live in incredibly extravagant lifestyles, very sort of aristocratic, but at the same time are immensely powerful, and it's kind of, although people do it and you would never really know if someone had gotten away with it, they're kind of like people that you don't try and mess with because they're exceedingly brutal in the ways that they deal with potential threats. The majority of Squall's End is run by essentially this umbrella organisation, which is just called the Mob. If you're part of the Mob, you're typically just like a normal resident of Squall's End. So this is made up of a huge constituent of a diverse array of races. And it's kind of made up of much smaller gangs, because that's pretty much the best way to make a bit of money. When you're part of the Mob, the downsides are that you end up having to pay fuckloads of taxes to these collectors, which are a huge part of the city, which go around and are just pretty brutal, basically.
In terms of the hierarchy of Squall's End, where does the Mob fit in with the Crimson Company?
So the Crimson Company, basically, what Enoch would tell you as well is based on. Are you gonna go?
Well, I don't know. No, you can go.
Okay, sure. So they basically, the reason Crimson Company got such a big foothold, and this would have been most relevant when you were around, is that through their industry they started manufacturing pretty high quality weapons and armour and tools and that sort of thing, which they control the flow of down into the rest of Squall's End, and that's why they're sort of like a kind of a tier above the rest. The mob are like, I mean,
like the common man, basically. The mob.
So the mob,
Yeah.
so the mob is one of the gangs that inhabit the sinkhole of Squall's End predominantly. So you have the Crimson Company and the Roses, which are sort of on the surface, and then the rest of sort of roughly 2/3 of Squall's End is sort of sinking into the ground. So the sinkhole's probably like maybe a kilometre across or something like that. And you know, down into the bottom of the sinkhole, there's various tiers. You know, the more affluent tend to inhabit the tiers closest to the surface, and by the time you get down to the basement levels, that's Underhive. You don't want to end up down there.
Because they're the layers that just fall away into the sinkhole, right?
Yeah,
Sort of,
and the bottom is basically a cesspit and a sewer, and subsistence people trying to scrape a living off whatever salvage that they can scavenge from scraps of God knows what that washes up down there.
yeah, for sure. They're kind of like the mob is sort of, you know, it's kind of everywhere basically, it's scattered around. The main area where people who are part of the mob aren't are territories that belong to the Greens, which, like the mob, are also sort of an umbrella faction, which has lots of other factions which all pay into it. And this is essentially, if you're some kind of green skin, then you will make a faction in the Greens, because there's not many gangs which cross over between greenskins, so you know, goblins, hobgoblins, orcs, that kind of thing, and things that aren't that. Now, of course, there's also the Inokenti family, which is almost like a sovereign state in amongst all of this, which kind of have like a central foothold based around the Obsidian Gate, which is, well, do you want to describe a bit about the Obsidian Gate?
Yeah, so rumour has it that a great meteor burst into the atmosphere in ages past, and the Obsidian Gate is a small fragment of what splintered off. It's a testament to my family's power and influence in Squall's End. A giant polished black sphere opening up into cavernous gaming rooms. It's a beacon for the free man to come and spend his coin.
Is it within the sinkhole? Or
It is within the sinkhole.
How far down?
It's roughly the 4th level,
How many levels are there, roughly?
about 8, before you start getting to. But then
What's in the depths is like a...
it's like over time, more and more of the surrounding land's been pulled into the sinkhole. So in ages past, who knows how deep that thing goes.
The only other gang that Enoch would explicitly warn you about is a gang called the Slicers, who basically establish themselves in incredibly thin layers. Like they're basically between layers, and they have they've managed to establish themselves almost as like tolls. So if you cross through them, you've got to pay them. You just got to pay them basically. And if you sort of get on the wrong side of them and don't pay your tolls, they'll blind you with razors basically. And so they've created these little areas of people which are just little communities comprised entirely of blind people who just sort of live in poverty and try and get by, who have kind of crossed the Slicers.
Enoch would have a pretty dim view of the mob as well, who he views as nothing more than a jumped up protection racket.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, from your perspective, it's like while there's all these other gangs which constitute these things, the fact that the Inokenti family kind of exists as its own thing indicates like how they've managed to carve out like a huge. Because if they were on the same level as another gang, they would constitute a very tiny spot of Squall's End, but they've managed to carve out an entire territory with a relatively small family that actually are at the helm.
Enoch, we know you and your uncle had some troubles and trifes. Are you keen to reconvene with the rest of your family?
I wouldn't say I'll be doing much reconvening. We didn't exactly leave on the friendliest of terms. In fact, he thinks I'm dead. Something I'd much like to keep that way.
So be it.
And
So it's safe to say we need to walk cautiously in these streets.
well, that's a given in Squall's End. It's a treacherous hive of villainy.
And scum.
Yeah.
I would some things you would say as well is you would probably tell Polana to very much like wrap up basically, because as a no one here will have ever seen an Eladrin, and the closest thing she looks like is an elf, which would be kind of associated with the roses, and if not, at the very least, you'd be getting grief from people.
Okay.
Obviously, it's up to you. You could obviously just wear your heart on your sleeve and deal with the consequences, but if you want to navigate through the city peacefully, you want to keep yourself pretty.
Enoch
Pretty
will
covered
also be using his disguise kit to disguise his person, not as him.
Yeah.
And he's going to be, keeping his hat brim low down and generally just, obviously it's a very bustling metropolis, so blending into a crowd is extremely easy. So
So
It's
yes,
not like you, Enoch, to be wanting to hide amongst the shadows within the crowds.
well, Gesh, when you have us passed like I do in this city, you might understand that if you want to be king, you have to make a few enemies.
Well, we are with you.
Another element of the city as well is that there's heaps and heaps of little, kind of burrowed into the sides of the crater, which is what it's colloquially known as, is, some people call it the sinkhole, some people call it the crater.
Or the sink.
Or the sink, yeah, the big sink. Are like networks of tunnels as well that people have excavated just to get more space. And a lot of the time, especially in the Greens territory, there's heaps of incredibly small tunnels, very sneaky ways in and out of the city that normally are a bit too narrow for not small folk to get through, but some of them are larger too. So you'd know you can navigate these no problem. While they do change, and like you would very much be expecting to see a lot of them would have caved in and changed a bit and stuff, but the general map, like your internal compass here, would be like on point.
Something that I've got is a really good internal compass underground from being a sink dweller.
In terms of races, so there's the greens and the roses and humans and kind of goblins. Who makes up like the most of the mob?
So it's predominantly humans, but they have like a range of other races too. It's incredibly diverse. It's here as well,
It's more humans than like them marginal races in the Squall's End.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're only Kenku or just like
Yeah, there'd be
smaller
Kenku
races.
around for
Smaller
sure.
races.
Yeah. And in addition as well, it wouldn't be unusual to like come across the occasional troll or hill giant. You get, but rarely. You get just because they're very useful in a gang, with muscle. There's also kind of smatterings of drow and some deep gnomes as well will be around. It's kind of like it's kind of like a lot of the nastier races you get on across here, I guess, and a fair few Underdark races too, because if you're in the sinkhole, if you're deep enough, it's because of all the walkways that are above you, it's kind of dark almost all the
I was
time.
going to say, Dora would feel very comfortable here amongst all the little alleyways and variety of people, keeping themselves to themselves a bit. It very much suits.
Might even be an entrance to an Underdark in the deep,
There probably would be, to be fair.
it seemed like it.
Although people are a bit sketchy and a bit on edge, I feel very much like I can get away whenever, so I'm a lot more relaxed than I would be in grassland or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like when you're in there as well, the fact
It's
that
funny, everyone's
everyone's paranoid there means that you kind of fit in.
Yeah.
Everyone else is on edge and Dorman's like, oh.
Yeah. Get me in a meadow, I'm like,
Yeah, you'd be attacked from any direction.
yeah.
Like back
Dorwin's
and
feeding off everyone else's anxiety to soothe
forth. Okay, so as you guys head up to the gates, Enoch, you notice something a little bit different from what you've experienced in the past. When you were here before, people could relatively come and go as they please. There were always sort of bandits and ruffians demanding tolls and tributes, but now you see there's very much kind of a quite a structured hobgoblin presence. All people who are relatively well armoured and kind of dull, almost like Uruk-hai armour and Orcish armour. It's just kind of like dull greys and stuff like that. And you see that they've got really mean looking weapons, and there's these almost little collections of people around the gates that seem to be kind of thinning out slowly as people walk in and walk back. This is not something you've seen before.
Can I make a perception or check to just see how they're treating the people walking in and out of the gate?
Yeah, give me a perception, and why don't you give me an insight to see what the kind of emotion is as well.
17 and
17 perception.
yeah, 17 perception, 14 insight.
Okay, sure.
I can
sure.
add to the perception if you need me to.
I think that would do just fine. Yeah. So you kind of like you tell the others to hold back a second, where you go and just check out what's going on. And you just easily able to slink through all the legs of people as you make your way over, and you just kind of staying just behind enough people where you can still see, but also being far back enough where you won't be seen. You can hear the hobgoblins just kind of in rough tones saying, "ID checks, please." And you see people hear people scrambling through papers, and you just hear "Hurry up, we ain't got all day." And that's supposed to do Australian actually. And there's people producing these documents, and sometimes people kind of get pulled to the side and slammed somewhere, and are being forced to demand pay.
So are we approaching the gate of School's End?
There's many gates.
But we're not
gates.
approaching the Obsidian Gate.
No.
No. The Obsidian
The
Gate.
Obsidian Gate is a casino,
Yeah,
which
full
is
throttle.
one of the branches of the Innocentia Incan stream that I would have mentioned,
Yeah.
along with we rely quite heavily on a drug called Obscura. It's like one of the drug, the other source of income, which is basically like a sort of heroin equivalent, which allows factions to very easily control the masses, because they've hooked them on this this Obscura.
Yeah, it's like a big time bargaining chip if you've got
Yeah,
stuff
with
of that sort of thing.
kind of stuff
Or if you're a supplier.
like the dagger.
And most of the factions will
basically
use
that,
it, and
maybe
most of
with
the
that,
inhabitants of the
push
bottom
onto the-
layer
so it's
are
just
basically
like
just
one
addicts, and
Yeah.
just trying to loot enough from bodies that wash up there to go and get their next good superior hit.
Does the Innocentia family control the flow of it altogether, or do you just have a good supply of it?
We control the flow.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be one of those matters. It's
Although interestingly, it's not especially done in the Innocentia clan itself. It's more just a thing that we sell to other factions as reason to get. Well, it's how we became so wealthy to afford an army and stuff.
yeah, I imagine it's one of those situations where in the Innocentia family, it's nobody touches us, that sort of thing, and then you occasionally have a reprobate cousin or something who ends up getting hooked, and it's kind of everyone in the family is frowned upon. What you can overhear is just from kind of trying to get a bit of information from what's going on and the general atmosphere, is that you can hear that for those people who don't have IDs, they're being told that they need to state how long they're going to be in Squall's End, and for each day they need to cough up 25 gold, and if they're there for less time, it's unfortunately they've got to pay up front.
And is
Sorry,
there?
just
Sorry, yeah.
one of the things where you hear is that for people who are planning on being in there indefinitely, they can pay 1,000 gold.
Okay. And is there one sort of hobgoblin that is guard that's a bit more isolated from the other ones?
Yeah, so I'd say there's probably about 12 or so of them
Okay.
that are doing various things. You maybe see one of them who's kind of just on like a little kind of shitty wooden table, just kind of like scribing some stuff down.
Okay. I would like to, so I'll mentally broadcast to the other guys. Looks like a standard shakedown entry fee for the city. Don't worry, guys. I've got an idea. Stay close behind me, but keep yourself blended into the crowd. I don't know if they need to roll stuff like that.
Would you advise us making an attempt to be stealthy?
That's what I've said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, then,
So,
Stay close behind me, but blend into the crowd.
And shall we? Do you want to? I mean, maybe not. Let's not. You can roll for stealth, but let's not roll for because you would have had loads of time to do the disguise kit stuff. So we'll just say there's like a
I said that. I would have done that when we landed.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
when I
sure.
got
I
to
could
Khazal.
cast Pass Without Trace. I'm happy to.
I'm gonna stealth up to the hobgoblin.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
If you cast a spell on someone and the spell fails, do they know they've had the spell cast on them?
Typically,
Okay.
it depends on the spell itself, really.
Suggestion.
Suggestion. Let me look at the wording of it.
It's a con save, right? Suggestion.
Wisdom save.
Okay.
So that's.
It doesn't
But-
say anything about.
Why am I being such an idiot? What the heck? What's M again? Vocal somatic
Material.
material. Yeah, you probably will know if it fails. Yeah.
No.
Do you want us to roll?
I picked absolutely trash things for my for my like body modifications.
You can sing him a tune.
Yeah, you've got good.
Nah, fuck it. It's my whole thing that I
Yeah.
picked. I'm gonna cast suggestion on him.
Okay.
I'm
Prior
gonna be
to-
stealthed.
Do we?
Shall we have these guys do their stealth checks?
Yeah,
first?
sure.
And you could just do a fucking route or something if you wanted.
I'm just gonna do a fucking.
Yeah.
I'm going to be invisible.
Okay, sure.
I probably
Oh,
might do the
that's
same, to be fair.
Okay, I cast Pass Without Trace on myself.
Well, we still got to make stealth checks, even if we're
Yeah.
If anyone's got disguise self, they can cast it on Gersh as well.
I've got disguise self, but wait, how did that help before we're getting ID'd?
Yeah, you are.
So, still going to get.
So,
Still not got ID,
I
right?
was gonna do a cool thing.
well, let's
You're
do.
still going to get
You did. You said for us to be stealthy, so we're being stealthy.
Well, okay. So why don't you engage in a conversation with the guy? So you're doing
No, I'm
some
gonna
shit.
stealth up behind him and say, a dragonborn and a goblin are about to present you with papers. You are going to look at the papers. Nothing's wrong. These are individuals that you've met before. They're well-respected citizens and they should pass without incident.
What's your save?
So I think it's 12 plus my proficiency bonus because I'm
Okay.
using Goblin Silver Tongue magic.
Okay.
So 16.
Okay, sure. Well, you got a 13, so
Nice.
So you just see sort of
It's on for the droids, all of them.
he says,
Get fucked.
I need to remember.
Enoch would be proud as well. I got a 28 on my stealth.
Hey, nice.
Nice.
So you stealth through the crowd and walk right up to this guy to get your ID over the side.
It's just like, oh!
All right then. Let me sign the papers. Names, please.
And I say, Bolger.
And he goes, take this, and remember, we'll be doing our checks if we find you out in the Crimson Company.
Okay, and can I say, as I take the papers, it slips through my hand, and if they fall on the desk, can I make a sleight of hand to steal the coin purse on the desk, please?
Yes.
If there is a coin purse on the desk.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd say there's probably a lockbox which you could pinch.
Okay. I got a 23.
Okay.
I can add to it if you want.
That's alright. Okay, yeah, so you're able to pick up a lockbox and it's got a decent bit of mass to it.
Okay. And I say, oh, sorry, terribly sorry. And I say, like, sorry for troubling you, and scamper off, like, you know, mock fearful of him.
What name did
Gesh
you
is
give
just
Gesh, by the
standing
way?
Well, Gesh needs to
Oh,
interact.
yeah.
Gesh needs to interact with the person.
Inkari.
Karu. Write it down. Remember these. Well, I guess you can read them on your paper, but just write them down so you remember. So he hands you the papers for the permanent stay, and yeah, with that you're able to pass through.
Nice.
Do
Okay.
we still need to stealth as invisible?
Oh, you said that you were gonna.
Yeah, but as
If
invisible.
you're,
Oh, yeah,
roll your stealth.
I'd have done it
checks.
for more people if.
I didn't realise
I
that
think
was
fine.
planned.
Yeah,
I
I didn't
think
realise
it was
you were getting. I didn't realise you were getting passes.
I thought you were just getting us through.
Yeah.
Oh,
Save
yeah.
you the risk.
I've no. Yeah.
Do we add something to it because we're invisible?
Well, just do the roll and it will be different because you're invisible.
6.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if you're invisible, you can probably sneak past. I would say that as you're, I mean, do you...
16. Perhaps you're 16.
16.
Oh, okay, nice.
Still
16.
part of the party, even
I
though
got
you're invisible.
26 then.
Okay, cool. You don't need stealth.
I got 22 and I'm a rat, so.
That was like out of character. Yeah,
It's safe to not get stomped.
yeah, Palana. Palana, you find that as you're kind of invisible in your way, trying not to like bump into anyone on your way. At one point, you go to walk past the hobgoblin and sort of like stumble slightly, and just as you're about to bash into him, you kind of feel this like force, like kind of like whoosh, like sort of move you around the side of him as the effects of Gesh's Pass Without Trace come into play. And you guys head into the city.
I cast wall of fire.
Sorry.
I cast wall of fire.
I'm just
I
going to
turn into
scurry
a
up
young-
to
You turn into a young black
upstairs
dragon.
and
Oh, you,
I
oh,
was
oh,
gonna-
okay, sure.
Oh, sorry.
He's chilling on your shoulder.
Oh yeah, cool. Okay.
Okay, so
I turned my mage.
Dragos
illusion
gets
into a
jealous.
cat.
Sorry, mate.
I turned my mage illusion into a cat that's chasing Cora.
I use my true sight to see this.
I love the idea of a cat, like a cat chasing a rat, and the rat being like, "I'm gonna use true sight."
That can't be a cat.
That's ridiculous. Okay, so yes, as you sort of enter Squall's End, immediately you're kind of greeted by sort of 2- and 3-story buildings. Close to the walls, they're all sort of made of stone, but a lot of them have these sort of scrap metal roofs and stuff like that. You can tell that almost immediately, even in these somewhat nicer buildings, the sort of stones that have been used to pile them up haven't been done super properly, so they kind of sag in different spots, and roofs always seem to be bowing down a bit. There's immediately as well, in between all these buildings, it almost seems intentional, there's just all these little sort of alleyways that kind of branch off in different directions. You walk past these, this close to the gate, it's quite busy with people. You see that there's people trying to sell goods, and kind of everywhere you look there's sort of hooded figures in alleyways making weird glances over their shoulder to sort of inspect anyone moving through. You also sort of hit with a bit of a, with kind of this relatively stagnant smell. It's kind of got this dull sort of chemical undertone, but occasionally it's interspersed with some little shack which is cooking up some unusual meats and food. You know, you see these little sort of goblin chefs kind of like grinning as they're frying things up and like waving them at you, trying to get you to come over and have a bite.
What's in the lockbox?
So give us a thieves' tools.
So it's like hand. To open the lockbox?
I think so. You do. There is a thieves' tools. If you click on it.
Has Polana covered her armor?
Yeah, for sure.
Pavana fucking hates it here.
So she's fully gonna be like trying to not cause
It's like
anyone
that.
to pay her any attention whatsoever.
Yeah, Gesh is
I'm
pretty
gonna keep this
uncomfortable as well.
invisibility
Yeah,
going.
so
Yeah.
everyone's miserable apart from
Also,
Torment.
disguise you if you want.
Yes, that'd be handy.
Sure,
Yeah, Gesh
When
is
you're
very
visible
much
in
got
the
his hood up as well.
I would
Keeping his head
say
down.
probably you
Even
would
though I'm
occasionally
going to
see
be
a
above
dragonborn
most
presence,
people.
though.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Majority
dog around.
goblin and shit, though.
Yeah, I mean mostly human.
Oh, okay.
Mostly human.
I
But
got 23 for my sleight of hand again.
okay, nice. Yeah. So you're able to crack open the lockbox, and within there's like 1,200 gold. Um,
Can I slide fantasy take it off Enoch?
You don't want to start that.
I'm invisible, mate.
Can I just
I
take,
use true slides! You can't hide from me anymore, Norman!
just take one gold coin at a
So I
time and
have
run
to
off
escape
with
for a
them.
minute.
Can I say that like even though we're trying to keep our heads down, just the closest
It's just me,
goblin
I'm like,
chef is cooking up a little something.
Yeah. Enoch spends 20 gold and buys everyone some Squall's End like delicacies from the goblins.
Oh shit.
Yeah. what is a
Mainly,
delicacy?
mainly dog, I reckon.
Oh god.
But that's like delicacy.
I
I'm a
can-
veggie anyway.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Delicious, but annoying.
Yeah, no, as in, but like Enoch wouldn't have told you it was a dog. It's just some nondescript meat.
I'm a veggie anyway.
Fair enough.
I'm
All
not
right. Well,
fucking
Enoch
eating
has bananas and like loves it.
Can I just say I can imagine like Enoch going to hand the meat to Dorwin and knowing that he's there and like Gesh sees him handing the meat and the meat just disappears.
Yeah. You just see little like drips of grease like just dropping from nothing.
Like some like sounds like.
Yeah,
Bit barky.
I imagine you
Are you a
probably
veggie?
taking the meat.
No.
Oh yeah, and
I
fondly enjoying it. Gesh sort of
Yeah.
very dexterously just flicks
You having a
piece
lollipop?
at the chef as well.
That's
Oh, okay.
lollipop
So
bars.
it's meat.
I think I'm a rat. I've ever.
Yeah. She's holding this little skewer on his shoulder and he's ratting.
And then accidentally just picks up the rat and takes a bite out.
Just transformed back into Rudy.
Just sucking on one of her fingers.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of make your way through the streets. Enoch, you very much think that the first port of call should absolutely be the last drop, which is a relatively well-sized establishment that kind of defies all other buildings in its area in that it hangs right on the edge of the crater.
It's the inn out of Arcane.
And sorry,
It's the inn out of Arcane.
is it? Is it really?
Yeah.
Have I been, did I fucking what's it called?
Yes.
Like
Maybe.
subconsciously.
Eisenberg or
think
something.
Because I was
This
thinking
whole
of the city,
time
I was
I've been
very much
picturing
thinking like arcane
Arcane.
vibes.
Yeah.
And so I gave it a little. I feel like I should change it. Oh no, but it's not a drop like a drop. It's like a drop like a drop. I'm sticking with it. I like it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was original. I was like, that's such a cool name. Yeah, it kind of like hangs off over the edges, but it's like very much a place where anybody goes who has no real intention of like conducting any serious business. They're just there to not be hassled in any way.
Okay.
So yeah, that's your number one piece of advice for people. And Polana, you're invisible.
Yeah.
How long are you invisible for?
An hour.
Okay.
How do you have that? You just get
It's one of my feats. It gives me that as well.
Just quickly while you're looking stuff up, Elven absolution is now known as ethereal draconianism.
Okay. Nice.
Nice.
Draconianism.
Yeah.
Sounds like a disorder.
That's why I'm using it.
Draconianism.
Sounds like more like a political ideology.
Yeah. Just burn everyone.
yeah. Ethereal draconian. Everyone must be an ethereal.
To be fair, the description of it is a system of cruel or harsh laws.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Just for thinking. So Enoch, you're sort of strolling along, lighting up a load stick. It's simultaneously good to be back, but also, there's kind of nowhere on the planet where you're sort of more at risk as well at the moment. You know that you can pretty comfortably navigate these streets without being seen. Like, it's pretty much second nature to you, given you spent all your life.
I'd say I'd take the opportunity to revel in taking the party along the back route, the high route, which is across over the buildings instead of on the thoroughfares, and it'd be very nostalgic for Enoch to be running through the streets of his childhood, jumping over the buildings, scaling, vaulting and mantling over the buildings.
I'd go further and say that I can imagine that Enoch would be regaling tales of being that's where I first made love to a little goblin girl and shit like that. or say, I did this there, or then we did a heist there. Or we did a heist there.
Where I groomed my
In a Kenty cousin.
No, why you wanted your silver tongue.
So glad Cora's on her phone for this.
It's because of this that she's on her phone.
She's just tweeting it.
Things Enoch says.
Can I have athletics and acrobatics from each of you, please?
Both.
Just one of them.
22.
28.
9.
19.
17.
Okay. You see Dorwin as you're kind of dashing over the rooftops. You see that Polani, you're kind of
Invisible still.
Yeah, I know, but you're still running.
You can't see it.
No, I'm telling you.
Sure,
you're
okay.
I've got to choose. Everyone's going to say, I got to choose.
You're sort of running kind of
Ooh, maybe I'm using my wings for the first time. I think I'm
Now?
using my wings. Yeah, just to fluck up. I'm invisible. I'm fucking around.
No,
I don't want to touch this floor. It's gross.
So as you're kind of passing over the rooftops, you kind of take to the skies and just kind of observe the people below. Guess you're able to keep up with relative ease as between you and Dragos, you're relatively.
It's once per day, isn't it? Scrap that. Sorry.
And Cora's a rat. You're able. To be fair, you're probably on the shoulder.
You can only do it once per day. Fly.
It's the same with the wind.
And Dorwin, you're kind of tripping and stumbling as you're going, kind of
1 minute.
just about sort of keeping up, but the gap kind of grows every once in a while, and you sort of need to do
Hurdles are taller than me.
yeah. And you're not the most physical of folk.
No.
Enoch takes you up to a point that's a little bit sort of more elevated along these high roads that allows you to kind of see kind of the sweeping view of Squall's End, and you can see that there's these all manner of little smokestacks just coming from loads of different buildings all around. You can see that there's a more sort of industrial processing area as well, which is constituted of more sort of brutalist, larger buildings, and you can kind of see people moving down on the streets below, and you kind of hold there a minute to catch your breath as
Dorwin catches up.
As Dorwin catches up as well, and eventually you arrive kind of stood next to them, and you notice sort of walking down one of the high roads, just sort of walking past you, just kind of nods as he's coming past. You see there's actually a warforged, just kind of comes lumbering by.
What's a warforged look like?
It kind of looks like a
Iron Man.
yeah, sort of like a robot basically.
Cool.
Comprised of wood and metal. You can see that this one's kind of got I suppose you might not have seen a warforged. You might have seen one or two in Clockager, but they're normally quite they're normally relatively pristine, maybe with a bit of degradation around them. But you see this one's kind of pretty haggard. He's almost got a bit of a limp, and you see that kind of merged into his metal armour. are all these like sort of black spikes and kind of lumps on the end of his like metal sort of chunks on the end of his knuckles, and you see just kind of as he walks past, kind of lumbering behind. Okay, so from up here, Enoch, you're able to point out where the last drop is, because you can now see the way that the town is on a slight downward slope towards the sinkhole, and you can see these buildings just kind of clinging on for dear life around the
does it sort of go quite gradually and then fall away in the middle, does it?
So the actual edge of it is relatively steep, but leading up to the edge, it's like the ground has just kind of sunk in a bit. There's areas of elevation. It's all a bit of an undulating hodgepodge.
Because like it all depends on where the subterranean tunnels have been built. Because in people's efforts to get more space in the sinkhole, they've undermined the strength of the surface.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even the surface is like not free from like cave-ins and, well, not cave-ins, but like subsidence. What time of day is it?
It's probably like early afternoon.
Early afternoon. Okay, cool. So like you can see, looking out over the like the tin huts, like painted like every single different colour, like, you know, teals and like browns, like the rusting of the metal, like really sets off the you know, with the blues. And it's a bright sunny day, and you can see you know, the smog clouds of the Crimson Fist Company. The Crimson Company sort of roll out over the top of the sinkhole, and then just get caught in the updraft of this sort of like intense heat rising off the sinkhole as a sort of accumulation of you know, the metropolis, but also like, you know, the burning pits of the industry that is in the sinkhole.
Yeah, cool.
That's sort of like the Obscura factories, the tallow, the tanning, you know, pits with like sort of massive sort of, you know, acid vats to, you know, cure the levers and stuff, you know, all contributing to this sort of like miasma of like sort of acrid fumic smog that's sort of biting the lungs. But, you know, despite the sort of the smog and stuff, it's undeniably an impressive visage. You know, sort of a testament to like the industry and ingenuity of life in Irigest. And it has a sort of a brutalistic, you know, hive-like beauty where, you know, you kind of feel sort of drawn into exploring all of the, you know, millions of, you know, little tiny cracks and pathways that that connect the city.
Nice. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, cool.
Okay. How far are we off train time for you, Cole?
Well, actually, the train's been cancelled.
Okay. Can you lift?
Could I just get a lift back to Leamington?
Are you
'Cause
sure?
I know you've got stuff to do. Yeah, I reckon my dad can go for
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
in which case we'll be.
Sure, yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to Lem either way, so that's fine by me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, shall we maybe pause soon anyway? Just because,
Before we start the next step.
before we get stuck into the next thing, just because the next thing is a thing, and also I need to sleep tonight because I'm unwell.
Enoch's one of Enoch's quite high thing is he'd like to, for an internal thing, he'd like to visit his parents' house. It's
Okay,
like one
sure.
of his like first things he does when he's back in school's end. It'd be quite an important thing for him to do.
Okay, yeah, sure.
You don't have to do
sure.
it now.
That's fine, I'll keep that in mind.
Did we get a silver cage in the Dropland Peaks?
Yeah.
Cool. Just checking.
Okay, cool, nice. Well, let's pause there then.
Yes.
Happy?
It.
Nice.
It's like that school's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Yes.
Solana is not.
Woohoo! Alright, good session everyone, well done.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice.
A part has broken off someone.
What is it?
And I can't make out what it is. It looks like it's a sword hand.
Oh, I think
it
that might be.
It's off Enoch.
Oh, it's Dorwin.
Oh, it's Dorwin.
Yeah,
Oh no.
it's Dorwin's hand.
Yeah, it is. And the sword is gone as well.
Dagger.
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 Oh, I lost my book previously as well, so now I have just a nugget.
You check my phone.
Yes.
Whoa, my medicine's starting to wear off.
Django?
Do
spilled some paracetamol or something.
Oh, pretty epic.
Yeah.